How shall we start this?
Do we not start every podcast with like, hi, I'm Helen Tudor and this is the Ideal Client Attraction Podcast, or not? You can have that. Done. Rocking and rolling, let's go.
And we're back. Number 4, how are you, Hels?
I am good, thank you, Mark. How are you?
I'm good. I've got a belly full. I just had a nice lunch. It's been lovely. We are on episode number 4, which is aligning with yourself. So this brings me back to the target.
Yes.
Remind me again, it was self.
Self is the centre, yeah.
And then it was?
Client,
and then offer.
Offer.
Yeah. So here we are, aligning with yourself. I've got a couple of key points here that, as producer, I will, and co-hostess with the mostess, I'll just highlight what we're going to be going through. So why inner alignment is foundational for success. The second is understanding self-strategy versus self-soul alignment. And the third one is practical steps to align with your core values. So let's dive in. So I guess the operative question to start with is, why is aligning with yourself the foundation of your process, the center of that bullseye?
Because you're the most important person in your business. You know, at the end of the day, your business is an extension of you, no matter what your business is. You know, it's an extension of you. And I think really speaking to that entrepreneur who's got, you know, a personal brand, who's got their name and face on things, this is even more so, but it doesn't really matter. Even if you've got a business that you're behind the scenes on, it's you live and die by that business. Yeah. You know, that's what you get up in the morning to do. That's what, you know, is your vehicle to the lifestyle that you want. So it's all about you and what you're doing and how you're operating, and also, in my opinion, how you're feeling and how that influences how you're operating. And I think radical self-responsibility is quite important here. That, you know, right. I'm the most important person in my business. You're the most important person in your business, you know, and our lovely listeners, they're the most important people in their business, right? So it's kind of taking that radical self-responsibility. If there's loads of external factors that we can talk about, but ultimately it comes back to you. And that's really what I want alignment to self to be. Yeah. It's coming back to you. It's coming back to who you are, what you're here to do, like what makes you you. And the first practical step, and I know we're going to talk about that later, is to write a timeline of your life. Right. So the Netflix episode 1 of the story of your life.
You're speaking my language, timeline, filmmaker.
From birth to now, and this is what we do in session, right? Yeah. But it's like, literally give me your life story from birth to now, and I want the good and the bad. I want the business and the personal. You know, I want the trauma, and I want the
dark and the light.
Joy. Yeah, I want it all, because when I know. And when you know about your own story and you look at it written down, even if it's just bullet points, or it's on a timeline, you can see what's made you you. And there's nobody's got the same story as you. Yeah,
it's a step back first, isn't it, to see what's true, what's real, what has existed.
Who you are. Yeah. You know, and you are a beautiful, perfect representation of an energetic being on the earth who has been through all of the things that you've been through to get here, has all of the experience, all of the ups and the downs, you know, all of the glory and all of the failure, all of the high points and low points, light and dark, right? So there's nobody that brings that to the business other than the way that you do it. So how you do it and who you are both very much interlinked. So how you do the thing you do, whether it is how you run your business or how you run your business and deliver within the business, because not everyone delivers. But if you run a business that you also deliver in, for example, you know, like a coaching business.
The face and voice.
You run the business as the CEO, if you like, and then you also deliver within the business as a, you know, to clients. So there's only you can deliver the way that you deliver, of course. But there's also only you that can run your business the way that you do. Yeah. So getting really, really quiet and stop looking externally, getting really quiet and working out, who am I? What am I here to do next? This isn't about my big life's mission, life purpose. This is about, what am I here to do next? What is the next step for me? What do I want next? Not, you know, you don't have to have a big epiphany of like the whole reason that you're on the planet. It could just be, am I in alignment with what I want to be doing right now? And if the answer is no, on a strategic or a spiritual level, then it's like, well, who am I? And what do I bring to the world? And what do I want to be known for next?
Yeah. I think my question is when they're looking back, what types of things, what's your process, I guess, with trying to help them get to now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much on a practical, tangible level here.
Yeah.
It's like, so what was your childhood like?
Right.
Like, have you got any siblings? Like, what was going on there? How did you feel? How was school? How was it with like boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever, significant others? What happened after school? Did you go to uni? How did you find that? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? And it's literally just talking them through it. So like, what happened then? And how did that feel? And quite a lot of people will skim over something.
Yeah, sure.
And they're like, then I had 4 children. I'm like, whoa, that's quite a big, that's it. I always call it like, it's a long story in a short sentence. So it's almost like, well, what was that like? And what was that like for you? And, and talking about people's career. A lot of people who've had very, very significant careers really do downplay them.
Right.
They go, so I started in HR, and then I was a HR advisor, and then I was like head of HR, and then I was global HR, and then I was traveling all around the world, and it's kind of like, this is quite significant because not everybody has that trajectory. And I think for a lot of people, they don't see the power or the value in the story because they lived it.
Right.
So I really try and talk to them about, and what was that like, and how did that feel, and what was that like, and what did that mean, and how did that impact your relationship, for example, on that one. And just talking to them through the timeline, step by step, through to where we are now. Yeah. So in most people's story, there's like a pivot point where they go, there's a crisis point where they go, I can't do this thing anymore, whatever it might be. Could be in a relationship, could be but in my world, it's normally in a career.
Yeah.
And then there's a pivot point where they're like, actually, this is what I want to do now. So most of my clients that come to me have had a successful career, and then something's happened, a life event of some kind, of either had children, or there's been an illness, or they've had some kind of like burnout, or some kind of toxic, horrible boss, or parents, whatever. So some life events happened, and they've realized that the life that they're living is not their life. They've been doing it for other people, and they have what I call like the whisper from the soul that says, this isn't your life. Like, what do you really, really want to do? And this is all part of the alignment with self. So this
is when they're really going to hear you, because you're putting that out there to them. Out there, they're going to go, oh, so she's talking to my inner soul, so to speak.
This is it, because we've all got an inner soul. We've all got an internal guidance. We've all got a voice inside us that says when things are right or not right. We all have. And I think the more we just tune into that and let it speak, then the easier everything is in life and business, relationships and everything else. So I think, but talking through that story up until today and understanding why they started their business, what was their aim for starting their business, what's their journey been in the business so far, really shows them that trajectory of them as a little boy or girl right through to the man or woman in front of me who has got these hopes and dreams for this business, and this whole story, this unique set of skills and experiences and stuff that they're kind of downplaying because they now see themselves as, well, I'm a business coach now, or I'm a mindset person, or I'm a videographer or whatever. Like, I've got this new identity and I've lost that identity of my old job, instead of bringing it in to this new business. I see that a lot. We saw that with Paul Green, who I went into business with for a couple of years.
Paul was a pilot, right?
Yeah, Paul was a pilot, but his first business coach told him to not mention it.
Right.
And I was like, there's not many people that are commercial pilots, mate. Like, you should definitely be like absolutely pushing that leverage as far and as hard as you can.
Don't mention your story. Like, what?
It's like, you'd be mad to just drop that, so there's that element as well. Sometimes I can see something in somebody's past that I think we should definitely be bringing this in. Right. Or there's themes or behaviors that have been consistent throughout this whole journey. And it's like, why aren't you doing that in this new business? Or why aren't you bringing that into that new business?
Yeah, looking
it's like,
for
well,
clues.
I never really thought that. Yeah, it's almost like, so I see this a lot with ex-corporates. They're kind of like, it's almost like they have to make it harder for themselves. Right. So it's like, oh yeah, I could go and coach, for example, let's say you've been a HR director in a massive global organization and you want to come and be a coach why aren't you being a careers coach for HR, especially, And they sort of look at me as if like, they're like,
I can't do that, can I?
Can I just could it be that simple? And I'm like, well, you know that world inside out. Yeah. Like another client where do you think that comes from? Where is that
Is that exclusive to corporate people?
No, not at all. But I think people have that was my old life and this is my new life. So I had a client who does health and fitness and she's absolutely amazing. She's super switched on. She does peak performance stuff.
Right.
And she's an ex-lawyer, global head of law firm, right?
Right.
And I think when you give up a business like that, I've got another client who's global law firm head who's just given up her role.
Yeah.
300 grand a year packages saying, no, I'm going to go and do this now. This trauma-informed coaching. It's it's a bold fucking move, right? That's the story. Yeah. It's I got to the top of my tree and I've decided this isn't for me. And that is so empowering and exciting for clients because they're like, wow, this person's really brave and bold and I want to be brave and bold. So there's that telling the story.
And
but with my fitness client,
she's bringing what they got from
that I said, why don't you work with lawyers?
Yeah.
And she's I
see where you're going with this.
I could work with lawyers, but I just want to work with everyone. I was like, oh, you can. But if you work with lawyers and you spoke at law firms and you were in all the law organisation, magazines, and you spoke to lawyers on LinkedIn, because you're a head of global law firm lawyer, you've automatically got a connection. You've automatically got respect. You've automatically got much more than me going and saying, I teach lawyers how to get these from LinkedIn. It's I can do it. But if I was an ex-lawyer, it's a lot more powerful because I've been at their level. So you've got this understanding. Now, some people are I don't want to work with my old people. I'm burnt out and I don't want to do it. And that's fine. Yeah. But for some people, it's that would be so much easier because I taught the language and I understand that industry and I can, I had another coach who was
exploring, isn't it?
Career coaching for anyone. I was like, but you've been in the finance sector for 30 years. Why don't you coach up and come in new managers in fintech? And because that's your world. Because you can automatically get that rapport and talk their language and understand it. Yes, you can go and coach someone in an engineering company, like a family-run engineering company. But why would you when you could make your 10 grand a month you want to make, having 10 great clients who pay you $1,000 a month? How can we make this easy and fun and enjoyable for you and easy for the client to see this person's for me?
When you suggest these then, is this it's almost I didn't think that.
I didn't think that. Yeah, I thought I had to sort of be inclusive and be for anybody. Yeah. And it's and again, I've had this many times. People say there aren't enough lawyers for me, for example. And I run a search on LinkedIn. I'm like, it's 1.7 million lawyers active on LinkedIn right now.
Can you find 4
in the UK and I'm globally? So there's always a way to debunk that. And we're going a little bit off topic, but when people say I don't want to exclude anybody by doing the ideal client work or picking a niche, particularly publicly, it's babe, you only need 10 great clients and you've got a great lifestyle business. We're not trying to appeal to the masses here.
From potentially 1 million.
Yeah, so let's make it really easy. Yeah. And, the more niche you are, the easier it is to find clients, the more you can charge. It's just making things easy for you. And I think there's a definite resistance to things being easy. Yeah. Because it's almost who am I to have a business that's fun and easy and clients that are, frictionless and come to my world and want to work with me?
It'd be interesting to find out what the origins of why we want to make it more difficult.
Well, part of that is usually in the climb, in the corporate climb. It's hard, It's getting you, for example, becoming a lawyer is hard.
So they're kind of
it's easy, everyone would do it. So it's hard. You got to work hard. You got to work hard at school. You got to work hard at college. You got to work hard at uni. You got to get good results. You got to work hard to get promoted. So everything's it's just I work hard and I get paid. The harder I work, the more money I get paid. And then it's almost it's so ingrained.
I guess where I'm going with this is, some people might be resistant to going, do I need to do self-work? But I think there's less of that now, would you say? And I think for those that are doing it, they're really leveraging it to unbelievable levels. God, this is unbelievable when I align with me, put it out there, and attracts which is pretty much what your message is, isn't it? It's put yourself out there and they will be bonded to that.
Well, there's a couple of things with that. So alignment with self is about going in and asking yourself, does this feel good for me? Yeah. So strategically, does this feel good for me? So we talked about this on the last episode about some of the things that I don't do because they don't feel good to me. Sure. And we talked about it more at lunch. But so I don't want to do things strategically that I don't want to do. Yeah, so it's about running a business on your term and saying no to stuff, because it doesn't feel good. Yeah. And that's a very personal thing. And there's also from a soul level, it's any strategy will work, but if it doesn't feel good, then we shouldn't be doing it. And the the concept is about being selfish and checking in with themselves. So I had a huge breakthrough this year, late last year actually. But I've always thought, what can I do for everyone else? What can I do for my clients? How can I help people today? And that's always been my mantra. And it's always served me well.
Yeah.
But I was writing some things down. And one of the things that I wrote down was like, if it doesn't benefit me first and most, I'm not doing it. And I thought, ooh, that feels weird, but good. You know what I mean? It felt unusual for me to feel and think that way, but it felt good on a soul level. I was like, yeah, that actually feels good to me.
Is that do you think it's because you are operating from a selfless perspective more and maybe not not intervening and taking a little reflective moment and saying, hang on, what about me in this? And because that's an ongoing practice, right? Just to double check,
Well, it's about that checking in and always making sure that it's self first. It's not selfish, it's self first. This has to benefit me the most and first, and then we can overlay the other stuff on it. And I think what a lot of people do, again, particularly women, is we put everyone else first and we blindly believe what other people tell us and advise us to do, but they are operating from a space that suits their self, you know, and it might not align with what suits yourself. And the only way to really know that is to check in with yourself. It's just like, it's about, how do I feel about this? And is this good for me? And how do I run a business on my terms in a way, operate in a way that I enjoy, do the things that I enjoy, do the marketing strategies that I enjoy? Like, how can I get asked to do things all the time that I don't want to do and I say no to.
Can you just?
Yeah, well, yeah, I've got a really good friend who's a big, you know, consultant guy, and he works with all these massive organisations. He's like, Helen, come on, let's go in. I've got clients. We can go in. We can do like 100 grand change management plans, and you can come in and redo all their marketing. And I was like, no.
There's a cost to that.
Like, hell no. Yeah, because I want to be away from my kids. I don't want to be away from my family. I don't want to be someone telling me what to do. Like, I'm fundamentally quite lazy. So I don't want to do anything that makes me want to do things I don't want to do. So, and that's just me. Somebody else would see that opportunity and be like, wow. Let's go. And that's great because that's aligned to them.
Aligned,
And that's the difference. It's about, you don't say yes to everything without checking in.
Filtering
And checking in and thinking. And also, as you go, as your business grows or as, you know, you get new clients, is checking in again and being happy to say, I've attracted things I don't want. And that's okay. I used to want them and I was happy with that. Now I don't. I used to travel all over the world, for example. Now I don't because I didn't have a husband then. Now I do. So I want to be at home more. So you change and your selfish, self-first desires will change as well.
Yeah, because your business has one number one client and that's you.
Yeah.
It's designed, you know, the business is meant to serve you, not the other way around. You know, although you work within your business, it's ultimately the concept is that you are your business's number one client and you should be treated that way. So my thoughts are, you know, how could someone know if they're out of alignment?
You'll feel it.
Right.
You'll feel it and it'll show up in the way that you show up above the line as well.
Okay. In the strategic side.
So below the line, you'll feel it. So you'll feel, don't even know what does misaligned feels like. I guess it just feels like friction. It feels like something you can't quite put your finger on. Resistance, just general grumpiness.
Some symptoms might be procrastinating.
Yeah, procrastinating, self-soothing with like alcohol or food or shopping or whatever, like snapping at your children, like not doing your self-care. So all the things you know that are going to make you feel better, like not doing them. It's a bit like, you know, I know I'm going to feel better if I go for a walk, but I'm not going to go because I'm just going to, you know, because I'm just not in a good place. You know when you're not in a good place. The symptoms are all
off.
around you.
Something's off. It's odd. It's not right.
And again, this is very personal. So I'd love to hear from our lovely listeners about what their thing is when they know they're out of alignment with themselves. Like, I'd love to hear that because I think everyone has a different one. Like, mine is definitely food and drink. Like, if I'm drinking more than usual, I know it's because something's out of alignment, if that makes sense. But I also know in my head I've just got like a bit of a like fuck it button where I'm just like, oh, who cares if I have half a bottle of wine? Like, but then consciously I know that's a sign. So you need to actually check back in with yourself.
This is good because I like it when you show your own vulnerabilities.
They're my things, and mine's food for me.
Mine's food and isolation.
Yeah, so you go
I'll go away.
Alone.
Yeah, I'll work long hours, don't go home. Don't want to see Lynn, don't want to see the kids, don't want to talk to any mates.
Yeah.
And then another weird one is I kind of want attention, but I used to think it was attention, but I want validation. It's
You get a bit needy.
Yeah. But with strangers, like with like, I go to the internet. Yeah, hey, do you want some free help? Like, what the fuck are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
Like, my minutes are precious.
Yeah.
And then I used to.
So it's like self-sabotaging that.
Yeah, I used to go overboard with it. I'd be like doing free calls and consults, and I'll do this for you and do that for you, and it's
overgiving. Yeah, I think that's quite a common one. And there's a line that I use a lot in my content because it always lands. And I always sometimes think, I've written this so many times, everyone's seen it now, but they haven't, it always lands. But I always say, like, if you find yourself stood at the fridge eating ham out the packet.
Over the bin.
If you're at the fridge eating the food out the fridge without even getting a plate.
With the door still open.
The door open, if you are lit by that fridge light, you are trying to avoid something. Something is not quite right.
Well, hang on, that's most mums, because I've seen that in our house. Me and Lynn are eating our dinner over the bin.
Well, that's different because you're trying to eat your dinner. But if you are like literally just in the fridge thinking, or like for me, I know something's not right with me if I start doing housework because I don't do it. I pay other people to do it. If I find myself cleaning the fridge, I'm like, what am I trying not to do here? Like this is like definite
Step
red
away
flag
from the duster.
Yeah, but you lose patience and then not doing all the good things and it go into a spiral of left side, right? Below the line left side.
Soothing, isn't it? It makes the idea that your number one client is you, but if you are your number one client, you know when your number one client's not feeling very well. That it's the same, you know what you want and what's going to make you feel good. But conversely, you're also going to know, hey, something's off here. But
it's about how you show up, right? So I always think like you should show up for your business like you want your clients to show up for you.
Yeah.
So if you're not showing up and literally like getting up, getting ready, getting on it, doing the things that you know you've got to do, and like really throwing your heart and soul into your business, then why would you expect somebody to give their heart and soul to you? Yeah.
That boils back to what you said earlier, just very briefly, not to break your flow, but you said like, if you show up from a bad place, you'll attract that. Like it's the same thing, right?
Well, you've got to be like your own best client. Yeah. You've got to sell like you buy, right? You've got to show up. You've got to be good, high value, high vibe, good, like we talked about, coming from an energy, like a winning energy, not a whining energy, because they're the people you want to attract. So you know yourself, if you're not showing up for your business in the best version of you, which is like, it's not, I don't even think that's a cliche. It's true. You know what the best version of you looks, feels, sounds, walks and talks like because nobody knows you better than you.
Absolutely.
So if you're not, something's out of alignment. Yeah. And when something's out of alignment, you don't show up as the best version of you, don't walk, talk, sound like you. Therefore, you don't attract the right people. So it all starts with you. It's the most important piece of the puzzle.
What was that thing you said earlier? You said something about don't let a short-term feeling
never make a permanent decision in a short-term emotion.
Yeah. So if you have that feeling that's off, you really shouldn't be making anything too big a strategic until you get back on. Yeah. Right. Move to the right quadrant
Moving back
again.
To the right. Yeah. But you've got to live with yourself. You can change your business, you can change your ideal client, you can change your strategy, you can buy another course, another program, you can go on another retreat. You're still there. Yeah. You're not going anywhere. Yeah. You keep following you around, right? It's about getting really comfortable with who you are and what you're here to do next.
What does this look like then? When someone's aligned, and I mean, you, so you can speak from your perspective, but I guess you can speak from another perspective, which will have two parts to it. Well, even yours in that regard, but we're getting to the point. What does it look like when someone is aligned? What do you see?
You can feel it.
But when what I want you to do this is not through Helen, but when you're speaking to your clients,
so when I see people, so I have a psychic ability, which is
oh God. It's that Mel Gibson film.
Which is about taking on other people's emotions, right? So I feel other people's emotions, which can be a curse and a blessing.
Like an empath, right?
Yeah. It's clairsentient, but anyway. So I can feel people's emotions through the words that they put out on social media.
Right.
100%. And I can feel it even more in person.
Right.
But I think what you see when somebody's in alignment is somebody who's having fun.
Oh, okay.
They look like they're having fun.
Right.
They have a playful energy. They look like they're enjoying themselves. They're in winning energy, but with a smile.
Yeah.
They are like, they're happy. They're positive. They're absolutely, you can't take your eyes off them. They are like magnetic, because when somebody's enjoying themselves, whatever they sell, however they show up, you can see it and you can feel it.
I just want to say, I'm staring at you and I'm thinking at the same time, and I want our lovely listeners to just know that when, like, I'm going to speak about you in the third person now, but when Helen is saying this, what I think people should be doing if they're listening right now is, don't look at someone who Helen's describing. Look at yourself. Like I was picturing myself then, thinking, what would I look like if I was having fun? Yeah. You know, because I've had a love-hate relationship with social media at times. I think we all have. We're like, fuck this place, you know, like, wow, this place is the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah. I love it here, you know. And I'm like, why do I have the love-hate? But it's like, it's nothing to do with social media. It's to do with me. Yeah,
exactly.
You know.
You're not in your joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not finding pockets of joy every day.
I hate it when I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, why the hell am I here? You know,
yeah. So it's, and sometimes it can be burn it to the ground and do something else, but sometimes it can be just aligning, like we talked about in the last episode, about what do I love doing, what do I hate doing? Let's go to some of the hate stuff and let's do the stuff that I, and this is about self, right?
Yeah.
So it's about you, like, what do you want to do? This is your business. You get to run it how you want to run it, not how someone else tells you to run it, not how you've been told to run it in the past, not how your clients want you to run it. You know, we're going to do a whole episode on boundaries, right? But boundaries are a part of protecting your own energy so you can have fun and enjoy yourself. Yeah. Yeah. Like, the energy is, when the energy is up, people can't resist looking at you.
Sure.
Yeah? Yeah. And if they can't resist looking at you, they can't resist buying from you. It's the same thing.
And even though you might not get the like or the share or the comment, it doesn't matter, does it? Yeah. We used to have a phrase in one of my old groups, we call them dirty lurkers. They're just like a bit of fun. It was it wasn't like these disgusting lurkers. It was like, they're dirty lurkers. And how you know is when they do reach out, I've been following you for ages.
Oh yeah, this is it. You know, when people buy, so I wrote a very controversial post, which I didn't expect to be controversial, but it turned out it was, which was, your ideal client, if you have to overcome objections, they're not your ideal client. That was it. That was the post. So it caused a shitstorm. Anyway.
Briefly unpack it here without going into too depth, just so people get some context.
Who does sales training for a living basically was pretty upset about that.
Right, of course.
Or just, there was just a few people that were triggered and were like, that's not true, and I love overcoming objections and it's part of the sales process. And I was like, but your real dream ideal client doesn't have any objections.
The least resistance possible.
There's no resistance. You don't have to overcome objections. Doesn't mean you'll never have to overcome objections with any client. I'm just saying, this one dream client, you'll never have to overcome objections. They're the people, like you say, they've followed you. And this is where the strategy comes in, the marketing comes in. Sure. But they'll have seen everything from you that they need to see to know that this is for them, what's in it for them, how much it is, and how they get it. Yeah. So the next message you get from them is like, how do we do this? Like, what's next? Yeah. People don't come in my DMs about a strategy session, like an ideal client co-creation session. People never ask me anything other than, can I have a space? And I've got evidence of that, because I'm very clear about what it is and who it's for and how much it is. There's no hurdles for them to jump through. They're ready. And that's how you know you're in alignment, because you're not having to deal with loads of friction.
When did you figure that out then? Was it due to just being pissed off with having to, because I've done the step where you have to explain yourself in the DMs, and I'm like, you do that 2 or 3 times and you're like, what the fuck am I doing?
Well, because you've got a misalignment with your marketing.
I should be doing something at the front end where these questions are there. Of course.
So I'm not saying all the salespeople don't send me hate mail. Remember, loving the DMs, hating the emails. But I'm not saying overcoming objections isn't part of the sales process. It is. But I'm saying, for that one dream client who drops into your DMs and says, like, let's do this. It's because they've seen, in my experience, they've seen me showing up consistently in the right energy with confidence and certainty.
They know who you are.
They know it. And the only reason why people don't buy from me
is because they don't
like me. They don't like my vibe. They don't like my energy. They can't afford me. And that's fine.
Which is the same, because they've got enough of you. You know, like, oh, fuck this, I don't want to be with that.
Exactly. So it's almost, the problem sometimes, though, is being so aligned. So the other part I want to talk about alignment and aware of time is with self, is showing up online as you show up in real life. And people have got this
congruency
so horribly wrong, like over the years. And I've been in marketing since the birth of like Facebook, so I've seen it all. And
it's my big bugbear. It's my favourite topic.
But it's very hard for people to do, because people believe they're not enough, and they believe that them just being themselves is going to turn people off. And all that them being themselves is going to turn people off. But for the right people, it's going to switch them on, right? But that is a scary place to be, because it's about pure judgment.
Yeah.
You know, if I am just myself, it's pure judgment. If someone likes me or not, it's because of me on a soul level. And that is terrifying for people. Yeah. And it's not an easy, you can't have one without the other. Mitch Miller told me this in Vegas, and it's stuck with me my whole life, because my whole business life, because I was getting so much hate. I was getting so much love at the same time. And he said to me, you can't have one without the other. You got to have both.
Right.
So the more you step into who you are, the more love you're going to get, but you get the same amount of hate at the same time.
There's a cost to entry in there.
Yeah, he said you can't have one without the other. So you've got to accept it and embrace it. And I think people are terrified of judgment because it's not safe, is it? You know, it's not. It's all in our DNA.
So we need it.
So it's. I feel it, and I'm sympathetic to it. I understand it.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have to do it anyway.
Yeah, and at the same token, the I guess that what I'm trying to say is the better you get at doing the work that you're espousing for people to do, the less that hate's going to get under your skin, and you don't need to build a thick skin. You just need to build a better
alignment.
alignment.
Understand, it's not about you.
Not
it's
about
about them.
It's
which is fine. And it's not about demonizing other people. Yeah. It's about them. There's people that I like and don't like, and there's people that like me and don't like me.
It's not like you're dropping animals off a bridge, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, you know.
We're just not in alignment, and that is okay. And I think once you really, this is why the practice is really powerful, because if you're connecting with your ideal client and yourself and you offer every day, you go back to that base level. You know, you kind of get dragged out of it through the day with social media and DMs and emails and your family.
That highway
you get dragged out of it.
Yeah.
So it's about centering yourself back into that target of like, this is who I am. This is what I'm here to do. This is who I'm here to serve.
It's very meditative, isn't it? It's very,
it is. Yeah.
Very much so.
Without loads of meditating and well music.
Cross legs.
Just nice and simple.
My hips, my childbearing hips.
So I think the alignment with self is about so much more than this is who I am, whether you like me or not.
Yeah, just
but that is an element of it. But you can tip, and I did this. Definitely tipped into, I don't give a shit if you like me or not, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And then people are probably like, I don't like you because you keep saying that.
Yeah.
You know, whereas now...
It's almost unnecessary to say it.
It's like, I don't need to say it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people do that when they're new into the space.
Yeah.
Because that's...
Bit bolshy.
It's bolshy because you're frightened and you're upset and you're in a corner. So you attack, you know.
Yeah.
But when you get over that and you realise it's not really about you, it's about them. And some people love you, some people won't. And the more evidence you get that you have to have both, the more you are accepting of it. And the more zen you can become and realise that when somebody doesn't like you, whether they unfollow you or they say something mean about you or they complain about you to your emails, that is going to push you into the bottom left. That's normal. It's going to sting. I always say it stings, but it fades. And the more stings you get, the more immunity you build up, right? So you do build up resilience. I guess it's not about responding to that in that whining energy, but instead moving yourself back to the bottom right and back up again.
There'll definitely be some people out there right now, and probably some of our listeners, the lovely ones, the lovely listeners. Where did that come from? We didn't even make that up, did we? It just popped out. Our lovely listeners will be there'll definitely be parts of people out there. I can recognize myself in this, where you try to get good at your thing. So this isn't about aligning with self. This is getting good at your thing, and then you're new to it. You're a bit bolshy, getting out there. You run those defense mechanisms by being a bit like, fuck you if you don't like me, blah, 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 blah. You can do all of that, and it can have an impact, and it can work. But what it will do long term, and this is what I want people to understand, is you do that fucking long term, you're going to run out of people. And then secondly, the people that do come through will be like that. Yeah. So then those people are going to be a fucking nightmare to work with. And then suddenly you've got this business where you go, oh, fucking hell, why do I hate this?
We're all assholes.
Yeah.
That's what we said right in episode, whatever it was, 3. It's like your vibe literally does attract your tribe. And if you are showing up, coming from the bottom left quadrant and coming out fighting, spiky and you know, having to, you don't need to say it. It's a bit like, and it's really hard to explain this to people, but you don't need to say that you've got integrity. You just have integrity. But then people post and say that. And it's like, no, you're missing the point.
What's the
because
phrase?
if you're saying it about them saying it, it's exactly the same. Like,
trigger warning, integrity posts come incoming. It's like fucking
no,
what?
I never post about the space, the online space, right?
It don't exist.
Because it's like...
It's bullshit.
Posting about how there's no integrity with people is like, it's just as bad as the people that don't. It's like you're just mushrooming this thing.
Just
it's like,
show it
you don't
over
need to say it. So I don't need to say anymore. I don't care if you like me or not, because I embody it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm confident in myself. I know who I am. I'm fine. You know, I've got a lovely life. I've got a lovely husband and lovely children and, you know, a lovely dog who I'm missing today. But
that in and of itself is attractive, because people go, how have you got there? There'll be a curiosity, right? How have you got to there without you saying things like you got to build a thick skin, you got your water off a duck's back. It's like, because you're not saying any of that shit, you know. And by the way, I've seen you go at people in the past. I'm like, oh, and when you've done it, I'm like, I like all your other stuff.
Yeah, but you don't like that.
I don't like this.
It's like being in a relationship. It's like, oh, you're nice as pie.
Yeah.
And then you've had a drink and you've been nasty. It's like, well, it's hard to come back from that. It's like you can forgive it, but you're sort of wary of it because you're like, you got that in you. And it's not something I do anymore, but it's not something I'm particularly proud of either.
Also,
it's bad for business.
Yeah, there's an incongruence there, because what I mean is when people see that, if they think, oh, well, I've seen this good Helen, that quote unquote good, and I like this and I'm aligned with this, and then you see that chink and you in the armor, so to speak, and you go, well, which one are you then? And that's where the incongruence comes in. Whereas you have to have this defined first, which is what you do as a facilitator.
Which is interesting though, because I talk about that, but I don't post about it. Because I think my posting has to be about who I am, what I do, who it's for.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't even post about the old me anymore, you know?
Yeah.
When I talk about it, I talk about it in my programs, I talk about it with clients, and I talk about it in conversation.
It's your story.
It's my story, but it's not my content strategy, you know? Again,
that's a good point.
There's so many people I look at and I think, I don't barely know what you do. All you talk about is this stuff about how you're feeling about stuff or how other people are like pissing you off. And it's like, I want to know what you do. Thing? What's your thing? Like, what are you really good at? What are you really passionate about? Show me that. Like you said, how do you know when someone's aligned? So when someone's having a good time, you know, so moaning that negative energy is not having a good time, is it? Like save it, like you say, save it for your mates, save it for your partner.
Do you know Jason? I don't know how to pronounce Jason's surname. Hullot.
Oh, Jason.
Joint ventures.
Yeah, he's great.
Swords. I've got no interest in swords whatsoever.
And guinea pigs. You know, he used to run a rescue for little animals.
Yeah.
Like rats and guinea pigs. He's so cute.
So without an in kind of joking, but Jason is...
He's about 8 foot tall.
Yeah, he's mad on swords. Yeah, and he does 10K a day in the morning on Watergate Bay, wherever that is.
He's a great guy, I've got a lot of time for him,
You know, this, and when he posts great memes about the sword events that he does, but he says, seeing everybody on Tuesday night for swords, not sword training, swords in capital letters, the plural of it, and it makes me laugh every time. Yeah. But that for me is... I'm glad I brought him up, and I'm glad you know him, because it's like, what does Jason do? Well, that's not his day job, but I tell you what, you know, he's passionate about that.
Yeah.
He likes a bun. Yeah. He likes a cake. You know what I mean? I think he probably knows it's maybe not so great for his health, but he sort of does it in this kind of weird way. He keeps fit, gets himself fit. And but interestingly, he knows about his stuff as well. I've spoken to him in person. I said, Jason, how do I do this?
Affiliate marketing.
His affiliate stuff. He's affiliate market, and he's fucking clued up.
Yeah,
like, and really nice. And if anything, it was just... I don't want to critique Jason, but you don't see much of that stuff.
No,
but maybe that stuff's done differently.
But you know why? Because he doesn't need to.
He doesn't need to. It's done differently.
But he also, he's a really good example of, he's just great at what he does, and now he's just having fun talking about the other stuff, which makes him really compelling to watch.
I've never worked with him, but if I needed to do affiliate stuff, I would do it off the back of his consistency for his love of swords. Yeah, because he's so consistent.
Because it's who he is and it's what he does. Yeah, and then people come to me and say, "Oh, I don't want to post about my family, or I don't want to post about my pets, or I don't want to post about my hobbies." And I'm like, when we're looking at content, we're going to do a whole episode on content. But when we're looking at content strategies, what about just who you are, who you help, what you do, and then add in your weird hobby? You know, because everyone's got a weird hobby, right? Let me know in the comments what your weird hobby is. You need to write my profile, because it just says podcast producer, full stop, drummer, full stop. Well, at least it tells us a bit about who you are and what you're passionate about. Yeah. It could do a packing out a little bit there, but there you go. You know. But, you know, it's like, I got a client, Marnie, who's great, and she's a date night designer. But she's also a performer. So she does all these, which she did do before COVID, you know, these dinner show things where you go for dinner. It's like Only Fools and Horses or whatever. Or it's not, it's the other one. Can't remember. But anyway, Faulty Towers. Right. So they do all the dancing around your table and everything. And she runs quiz nights. So she's really creative and theatrical. Like an experience. Yeah. So I said to her the other day, I said, you can do all this stuff online, Marnie, or get some leaflets printed and go down to King's Cross Station and start singing and dancing and handing out your leaflets and to couples or to men as they're coming off the train and saying like, when was your last date night? What do you know? Let me design one for you.
Wow.
Like that is going to give her so much joy, so much energy. Like it's going to play to her strengths. No one else could do that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be singing and dancing, anytime soon. So it's almost like find something that you're great at and that you love and combine it with your marketing to make it fun because, you know, for Marnie sitting in front of a computer, post on LinkedIn all day, it's a strategic thing above the line, but it's not going to bring out lots of joy. So bring in the joy elsewhere.
I think what our lovely listeners, you don't have to share everything all the time about. Like you can literally decide what you want to show. You know what I mean?
Highlight reel, please. I only want to see the highlight reel.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a massive fan of the highlight reel.
I'm a massive fan of the
I used to slag it, and now I'm like, no, I just want the highlight reel.
Yeah. Tell me the best bits of your life. You know, great.
Well, boundary I had, it was like a Flickr pad of my children because I was so proud of them. Social media just started, phones were getting better, and it was like, oh my God, there's 100,000 pictures of my kids online that they've didn't give permission for. They were babies, you know, and grew up, but it got me traction. I'm torn because I'm like, I'll leverage my kids for my business. I know.
I sent Megan into a Facebook ad that went to 500,000 people. So
but mine were kids. You know what I mean? Mine were little kids, and I know it had an impact because I could see and the way people would respond and react to me. But I didn't want my business building around that, so I made a decision to.
Well, you choose. Your business. You get to choose.
I pulled that away, and not much has changed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just by pulling it away, and if anything, I'll probably post more about different things like the dogs. The dogs don't give a shit. They're never going to have a smartphone. So it's like the dogs are pimped like Chris, like Dave is.
Dave's leveraged for likes all the time.
Dave and Jeff together.
But the thing is, it's like I love Dave so much that I would take pictures of him and put him on Facebook every day. Yeah. Even my sister messaged me. She was like, "I love Dave, but I'm not going through 52 pictures you just posted for his birthday." And I was like, "Oh yeah." She sent me a screenshot with it said 52. So I thought, yeah, maybe that was a bit excessive. But because he's like, you know, it's like our fifth baby, so I do want to post him.
To be fair, when you got Dave, and I remember it, you did put a warning up and went, prepare for Dave spam.
Dave spam, but I also didn't post him on Christmas Day. So Stu got me, this is confessions, Stu got me Dave as a present, a surprise on Christmas Eve. I was like, who does that? You got me a designer dog that you've bought from a breeder that you've stuck a bow on it and put it in a cage, put it on the front step at Christmas. I was like, I'm going to get cancelled. Like, this is not okay. Like, I've always had working dogs. I've always done rescues. I've always had not always done rescues, but I've always had working dogs. I've always fostered for rescues and stuff. And I was just a bit like,
this ain't me.
This is not me.
Yeah.
But obviously it's Dave and I love him to bits.
And it's coming from Stu, which is good.
And it's, and it's fine. But you know, when you just think, I couldn't post him for a week because I was just like, this is going to ruin my Christmas if one person says,
you're out of alignment.
Yeah, you should be adopting, not shopping. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe you got me a designer dog.
Yeah. That level, that word congruence and being incongruent. You talked about integrity earlier. That's all that is. If you are out of alignment with who you say you are and who you show you are.
Well, who I believe myself to be, right? And Stu said, I got you, Dave, because you kept fostering these old, decrepit dogs that couldn't get up the stairs and were like nearly dead. And I was like, but that's why I do it, you know? And he said, oh no, I just thought you wanted a dog. So like, and I was like, oh great. So you got me a 17-year commitment. Brilliant. You know, so there was a bit of an adjustment period. But, you know, once I got over that, and obviously Dave's amazing and I love him to bits and he's like my child now. But you're right, it didn't feel good. It was below the line. I was like, what have you done? Like, what has happened here? Like, this is not...
So, based on that, with practice, you had to shift first.
I had to wait until I'd shifted. I was feeling better.
Then go to the rational and the logic.
Started to feel the joy. You know, started to realise, well, some people won't agree with that and that's okay. You know, and it's almost like, it's kind of like, you have to just, I kept myself below the line on that topic. And I didn't even fall in love with him. Do
you see?
About
this is
2
bizarre
months. I was just like so traumatized by it.
I didn't know any of this. Which is because I wouldn't be convinced of that. I'd be like, oh, she's got Dave. I know it was a bit of a shock. I know that the present was a shock, but it's like, oh yeah, so now I love dogs, so it's all right. 10 minutes later, you know, because he's so cute, and I saw the video, and you were like, oh, and the girls were all screaming the house down. You know what I mean? But But I wouldn't have known that unless you'd just said it now.
Yeah, and I wouldn't, but again, I wouldn't post about it. So having conversations like this, I know they stay around forever, but it's like we're just chatting as friends, right?
But you can't get context in a written post.
I don't think it's fair on...
It's too difficult to get the context in as well.
It's a bit unfair on Stu as well, because he's done it with an open heart. You know, he's done it in the best interest. But also I don't want other people's opinions on it. Yeah. So if I said this is how I felt, and then everyone went, oh yeah, I thought that about it as well, and I don't agree with it, and I just thought I don't want to agitate the feelings. I just want to deal with them myself, move myself over to the right, and then come out publicly with like, here's Dave, he's amazing and I love him, and that is true as well. So I think those two things can be true at once. And it's interesting because it's about, we don't have to tell everyone everything.
No, exactly, yeah.
You really don't.
But also, if you were to, and if you did, I'm clearly biased because I'm a fan of this medium, because if you tried to, I know how good you are at writing, and you are, credit to you. I know you sometimes say, I'm not that good, I'm not a copywriter, but you're good at writing what you need to write. And if I didn't think you was, and I'd say, oh, maybe have you considered, like, could I ask a question? But the point to it is this medium allows you to really let people see, feel, and hear. So then they would go, oh yeah, that all makes perfect sense, else. Yeah, no problems. You write that fucker. It's only words. You miss out tone, you miss out body language, pace, and all that sort of stuff. So it's more difficult. But I think when there are deeper things, choose the media correctly. Or not. Don't do any of it. But so to wrap up, I think. Have we covered everything there, do you think, for aligning with yourself?
I think so.
There's more to it, of course there is, but I think we've covered a decent chunk there. Now, for your crazies that like to do shit, like just give me something to do. Stop fucking talking, you two. So spend 5 minutes journaling on what truly motivates and energizes you in your business. That's what we got down as the main takeaway here. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, so like journaling is... So I prefer drawing a picture or writing a list, to be honest, but whatever works for you. But something, pen and paper. What I like is to draw a stick person. And on the left-hand side, talk about who you are. So who am I? Yeah, what are the labels that you wear? Like, what are the, how do you show up in the world? Your like, what's important to you?
Archetypes of who you are. All the different ones. Mum, dad, Yeah. And who you are like in the world, if that makes sense. And then on the right-hand side, I would talk about like what makes you really happy and what gives you joy. So we talked a bit about, when someone's aligned because they're having a good time. Yeah. So what if having a good time could help you get more aligned? So being proactive. So finding chicken
out,
and egg type affair.
Yeah. So what could you do in your day that brings you joy? And we talked about Dave a bit in this episode. So like for me, spending time with Dave brings me joy.
Right.
Yeah. So if I spend 5 minutes with Dave and then post, I'm in a better headspace than if I don't, and I love things like nature. So like going into the garden. Sometimes I just go into the garden and just stare at the trees and the leaves or whatever and try and find some bugs.
Your neighbours are there like, is Helen having a stroke?
Looking at the trees again. Someone said to me, like, they were in launch. It was Lewis. He said, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. And I was like, go and find some ants and watch them for a bit. Like, just get really into the detail of like, this is a little, but think about things that bring you joy and make you happy and like can really raise that vibration. Yeah. And if we can help our souls feel happy on a day-to-day level, then we can get a lot more aligned with what that feels like. And when we know what that feels like, then we can really make decisions in our business on a strategic and a spiritual level.
Nourishing yourself, are you, essentially, with things that bring you joy. And it grows from there. Part
of that is that self-awareness piece of what does bring me joy? What did I like doing when I was a child? Where do I get my real... those glimmers, as they call it, like those glimmers of the day-to-day. And also this is a question I ask a lot of my clients when I can feel they're out of alignment. What's the one thing you should be doing for yourself that you used to do that you stopped doing?
Oh, you bugger.
What's yours, Mark?
I packed the drums away about a year ago.
I was going to say, I bet it's drumming.
You know it, don't you?
I knew it.
I packed them away. I actually rage packed them.
Yeah.
Lynn and I had a little tiff and... nothing to do.
Under the line, left hand,
fucking
all in your feelings.
Irrational, fuck you. We never have massive blues like that, but I rage packed them away. And, I love my drums and I love my children. Oh, did I mix them up? Sorry. I'm joking, kids. I'm joking, boys.
So I think,
Cool.
That's the takeaway, really, is if you draw the picture out about who you are and what you're about and what brings you joy, have a look for things that you used to do, you've stopped doing in the pursuit of this business.
Just summarize it again. So on one side, you write down who you are.
All
these caps that you
all
wear.
your sort of your labels, all the responsibilities you've got, all the things you've got to do.
Other side,
and
joy.
the other side is all the things that bring you joy when you were younger, like whereas now things that you'd love that you'd maybe like to do.
Yeah,
but
that
have
you've
a look.
stopped
Yeah,
as
have a
well.
look for that one thing you've stopped doing that you used to do, and you've stopped doing it and almost barely noticed the impact. Is that's the thing. Yeah.
And just to tie that all together, if people are wondering, what the fuck should I do that for? It's like, hey, listen, when you do that, when you're aligning with yourself, that joy is there now. If you do that, and that joy is going to show up in the other parts of your world, like work.
It's going to move you from left to right.
Yeah. You can do joy in business. You can do joy in home, as it were.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I think we're good. We'll run over a little bit.
A little bit.
30 minutes, my ass.
That might be episode 4.2. You edit it down.
What are we at? Okay, we're an hour. Okay, it's cool. All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome, Hills. See you in the next one, everyone.